barakatuh. Good to see everybody. Alhamdulillah. Again, my name is Jesse Maroney, and inshallah ta'ala we'll be going over the attributes of Allah today. So let me just formally open up. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Malik yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alayhim. غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا اللهم افتح علينا فتح العارفين ووفقنا توفيق الصالحين وانفعنا اللهم بالقرآن والذكر الحكيم اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا متقبلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. So, generally, I know for new Muslims, this is a question, probably what did I say? What's the formula, right? So, usually before we start, you like to open up in a prayer because you want to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also you want His help and assistance in understanding information. To even process what's going on in the class, and it all comes from Allah. So I'll give you a quick thing for people who are writing down notes, just really quickly, 2 minutes before we get into the subject. The etiquettes of dua, the etiquettes of actually making dua. There's actually a good etiquette to hold by that will help increase the chances of your dua being answered in the particular way that you want or things. And Allah knows best, and Allah does what He wills. One of the etiquettes is first to start off by praising Allah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim is actually a praise too. By starting off by praising Allah and then doing prayers on the Prophet, peace be upon him. One of the things about doing prayers on the Prophet, which you see that we do in our prayer, is that it has a acceptance level. You're asking, oh Allah, bless the Prophet. So there's actually a big blessing within inside of doing that. And it also starts to engender love for our Prophet, peace be upon him, inside of our hearts. So it begins to do this beautiful thing. Then after you do praise of Allah, prayers on the Prophet, then you want to actually do your dua. You do your dua. You make whatever dua that you possibly want to do or what you want to say. And one of the best things to do is actually learn one of the duas of the Prophet, because he knows, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him, he knows exactly what you really need and what you truly want deep down inside yourself. This is the difference, is that's one of the reasons why he is called the messenger of Allah, because he's showing all of humanity truly what the human being is capable of and who they really are, and much more. So that's a good one. But you can make any dua that you want. That's, it's open. Allah tells us to make plenty of dua. Call on Allah, connect with Allah. There's beautiful things. So you do praise of Allah, prayers on the Prophet, do your dua, then prayers on the Prophet again, and then praise of Allah again. That's how you close it. It's like almost like a beautiful sandwich, right? You put it together. Boom. It's there. So there's a lot of different things to that. Maybe another time we'll explain. But last week, just to recap, we went over a very well-known hadith. It was called the Jibreel hadith, or the hadith of Gabriel, who is a very distinguished and the most distinguished angel. He is the angel of revelation, or the commander angel, and he is given the job of giving out revelation. And there was a time where he came in a human form in front of the Prophet ﷺ and the companions. And Umar, which is one of the great companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, narrates the actual hadith. And so it mentioned a few things in the hadith, just to recap. It mentioned the 5 pillars of Islam, which are Shahada, Salat, Zakat, Ramadan, and then Hajj. It mentioned the 6 articles of faith too. What is Iman? What is faith? To believe in Allah, His angels, His books, His messengers, the last day, and decree its good and its evil. Then it also to mention the excellence or the perfection of faith, what begins the process of perfection of faith. And it's to worship Allah as if you see Him, and if you can't reach that level, know that He sees you. Then it also too mentions another part, which is the signs of the end of the human experience, or the signs of the end of time. And so it mentions a couple components with that. So what that hadith does is sum up what is the reality of our way of life. What's the reality of our, religion is a confined word for Islam. Deen is a way of life. What is our way of life completely? What do we believe in? How do we attach ourselves to God emotionally? How do we attach ourselves to God intellectually? How do we attach ourselves to God spiritually? how do we live that completely within our whole life and our whole existence? It's not just a Sunday or a Friday or a Wednesday, or it's every day and every moment. But he was showing a couple things, and then I know obviously Jamal has been kind of going in on our belief system. So the first part is to believe in Allah. We talked about that, to believe in Allah. So this is one of our, the first thing that I said is that I believe in Allah, because that's one of the first things. One of the things that I talked about last week was that there's a universal understanding for most human beings that there is a creator. For most human beings, most people understand that. They haven't covered up that natural inclination to understand that. That's naturally put within us, okay? And so there's some attributes of Allah that we need to understand. And I promise you, and Allah knows best, that this will help you on your journey in life if you begin to actually understand these 13 main attributes. These 13 ones. And this all comes from traditional books of what they call Aqidah, or Islamic belief. This is the 13 that most of the scholars can sense upon that you need to know. All of the scholars say that you need to know this. You have to know this. And some go farther, they put different names. But these are the 13 primary ones, and this is how I was taught in the beginning. This is from I learned from Dr. Umar on tape and other people that I learned from. So this was the most, this changed my life the most. This was the first step of the change of my life in Islam. So I love sharing this part. So the importance of the names of Allah, right? So you see in the center of this is, pictures are pretty interesting. Oh, I have a little pointer. So pictures are pretty interesting, right? We have the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here. And then from that, all the different names start coming out. The victorious, the guardian, the inspirer of faith, the life, the bestower of honors, the humiliator, right? The seer of all, the self-existing one, the judge. You see all these different names come out of that, right? And so, but in the middle of it is this essence almost, is this thing, Allah. So one of the things that you'll see is that the scholars categorize attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first thing, number one, is what they call the self-attribute. Okay? And that means that Allah exists. That's primarily what we have. To begin our journey in Islam, you have to know that God does exist. And this is something that, if you ask a Christian, if you ask a Jew, if you ask many different faiths, they'll tell you, yes, a creator does exist. They know this. They know this. The attributes that we're going to go over after, though, this is where the problem comes in. This is where the problem comes in. This is where the misunderstanding comes in, and the misunderstanding of God existing comes in. Okay? And this will also to clarify certain things for you in your life. Inshallah, it will clarify certain things for you. Okay, so we have negating attributes, right? What's the first thing, when we take our shahada, what's the first thing that we say? Can anybody tell me in Arabic? Okay, what's the first part? What's the first? Do you know Arabic a little bit? La, right? La. So we negate certain things about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Number one, there is no God, right? But there's some other things too. So we're going to go into him in depth with just a general overview. He has no beginning. He's infinite. He has self-sufficiency, oneness, incomparability. So then we say, La ilaha illallah, right? There's no God except Allah. And so there's certain things that we affirm. He has life, he has knowledge, power, will, sight, hearing, and speech. Right? And so if you take a look at these in depth, right, there's some pretty interesting things that I'm going to point out in a little bit. Well, I should point them out now. Number one, this is the negation of it. This is something that's beyond us. In our world that we live in, does everything have a beginning here? In the world we live in, right? Yeah. You have a beginning. I was born in 1983. That was the first time I stepped, when I came out of the womb then, that was my first thing here. That's my start point here, right? When my end point is, I have no idea. Hopefully it's a little bit longer. It's not soon, Hopefully I'm in a good state. And alhamdulillah, I make the transfer very well. That's something that's, that you want. But everything has a beginning. So we can't, no beginning. Allah is not created. So we can't really, you know what I mean? But there's a couple things how we can understand God. And so we're going to go over the negative first. But take a look at this. What is something that you see within that category, or within that bracket right there, and those different attributes? What do you see about them? Can anybody know? Can anybody kind of explain what is it? What What's some similarity that you see here? Senses, right? Of what? Take a look. What's some similarity that you see here? What does this remind you of? Huh? The human being. You have life. You have been given knowledge. You've been given a part of power. You've been given a part of will. You've been given a part of sight. You've been given hearing. You've been given speech. It's very interesting, right? So the spiritual masters of Islam will say a very interesting thing. They'll say, he who knows himself knows his Lord. He who knows himself knows his Lord. And that's a very deep statement. It's a very deep statement if you actually really dig into it. But it's very interesting. What is the way, the highest way that you can actually see the beautiful names and attributes of God? Does anybody know? Man, What is the highest manifestation or the most reflection you can do, right? Like you reflect, right? Like you go home, if you go outside today, right? You say you go to a park, you reflect, you see the green, you see the blue, you see the birds making noise, you see all this beautiful wind, right? It makes you feel about the mercy and the beauty of God, right? You say, wow, subhanAllah, right? You start to say, alhamdulillah, oh, wow. You get a nice breeze, it's hot, you're in the sun, then you get this nice breeze that comes by, alhamdulillah, right? You think of, oh man, Allah's merciful, look at this, right? He just didn't make it all hot for us and, these beautiful things, right? But what is the way that you can really say deeply, very deeply, alhamdulillah? Does anybody know? Nothing is impossible. But when you look at the human being, when you look at the human being, you are one of the greatest, you are the greatest creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are, no doubt about it. The Prophet ﷺ would do tawaf around the Kaaba. And he would say things such as like, that the sanctity of the believer's heart is greater than you. That your heart is that love to God and who you are and how you can express things. Who's the greatest of all creation? The Prophet, peace be upon him, right? Of all creation. This isn't just like, you know what I mean, like just a human being. This is of all creation. It's a human. Yeah, that's a very interesting thing. He's not, obviously he's a human above humans. But this is who he is. Even the angel Jibreel, alayhi salam, could only go but to a certain point. And then he goes beyond. This is the human being. This is who you are. So take a look at it, right? Life. These are things that we have to affirm about God, and they're inside you, easy to make. He makes it easy for you, right? The scholars have found this out, but he put it right inside of you. So, okay, number one, the existence of Allah. So we talked about last week a little bit about Allah existing and that some of the different things that happen in the world, such as that when you see different people, they have, even though there may be some misunderstandings, they still have a universal understanding that there is a God, right? We have a tendency within inside of ourselves to worship, right? We talked about this last week, that some of us even still, people worship money sometimes. People worship themselves. People worship misunderstandings. Some people worship nature. But we still have this element within us, or this part of us, that has a tendency to want to venerate something. And even the atheists still venerate something. Maybe science, maybe themselves. It can go any ways, but it's still there. Now, even the problem with atheism, right, is when you take a look at this, and I'm giving you guys all, anybody who wants to take the course, I'm giving you all like a preview of Belief 101 for CIU. Because I teach that, I teach that class in the prisons a lot. And I'm giving you some extra things though. But all this stuff will be in the CIU course if you want to go more in depth, and then especially when you begin to write it down and answer the questions, it ingrains this in you. Because one of the first parts of your journey in Islam, especially developing spiritually, you have to understand these things. If you want your prayer to become deeper, if you want all these things to become better within your life, and your character to change, you have to understand some of these primarily in your life. This will help you. This will help you even emotionally, and I'll show you when we get to the will part, okay? So existence, but there is this understanding in atheism that you'll see, especially in CIU again, so go, that they found that most people who study people, anthropologists and other people, right? They've studied that, they see that atheism is something that has to be acquired. Now you see in the Quran, right? In the Quran it states, what is the word for a disbeliever? Kafir, right? Kufar, right? What does that mean? Does anybody know what that means? Oh, she knows. She's alhamdulillah. It means to cover. So you see that atheism, right, is not natural. It's actually acquiring something. When you cover something, right, you know, when you lay in bed, do you just lay in bed and then all of a sudden the cover comes over you? No, you have to go and get it. You have to go and get it and put it on you, right? So this is what happens in that realm of disbelief, that you actually have to go and acquire certain things and start to actually put yourself into a state of delusion. You put yourself into a state of delusion. That's what's happening. And you take a look at one of the names that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses in the Quran for shaitan. Gurur. The one who deludes. It's something that has to be acquired. It's not something natural. So you'll see this. So you'll see a dysfunction. Also, too, you'll see when egos and things in that nature become involved in understanding God. It will become very problematic, and it will produce problematic results. A lot of why the way our world is today is because of belief systems. It's because of belief systems. And validating certain things under our belief system. You'll see it. Even with Islamically, like with ISIS. There's many things that are validated that are completely wrong and out of context. When we take a look at slavery, the backdrop of slavery over the years, it was validated under a religious text. It's a problem. It's a very big problem. And so it really, warped parts of the world. Really warped understandings. So the existence of God, though. This is something that's universally understood. We talked a little bit about when the covering process actually happens. So understanding and having I'm beginning to develop a firm belief that a God does exist. And all of our acts of worship begin to cultivate that. When you say Allahu Akbar in the prayer, when you begin to do the Fatiha, when you begin to actually bow, when you begin to actually stand back up, when you prostrate, you're doing all these things to cultivate that within inside yourself deeper. And then we'll go into some more. Okay, no beginning. He has no beginning. One of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you take a look at the 99 names, there's a hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, that he said that the one who not only memorizes but embodies the 99 names of Allah, then Jannah is his destination. So as believers, what we are supposed to do is we are supposed to actually begin to cultivate our character or shape our character around the different beautiful names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's all found in the Prophet, peace be upon him. So he's our guide to that. So, but first, no beginning, right? So the general definition that's given here in this picture, al-awwalu, right? It means the first, the one whose existence is without a beginning. The first, there is nothing that came before him. He has always existed, and nothing preceded him in existence. Everything else has been created and gone from a state of non-existence into existence, except Allah. So this is first and foremost what we need to understand, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala isn't created. And what does that mean? Why there's no beginning and he's the ultimate power? What does that mean for us? Well, one thing is this, is that when you see sometimes certain people explain God, right? Certain people have a misunderstanding of God. And you may actually converse with somebody and they'll say, well, you believe in this. And then you ask them certain things about God and you may say, well, I don't believe in that as God either. You know what I mean? That he's tyrannical, that he gets mad, that he's like a human being. They start to describe him as a human being. That he doesn't know what he's doing, that he doesn't understand evil, that he doesn't understand what's going on, that he doesn't have knowledge over everything. So when people get that understanding of God, and that he's just this big man in the sky throwing thunderbolts, then you have a problem. You have a very big problem. And so there's certain things that we understand, and one of the primary things is that he has no beginning. So that also too shows us that he's not a created human being. That also too, he is infinite. He's infinite. Okay? And now the beautiful thing about this, so let's read it. Al-Baqi, right? He who has always existed and who will never cease to be. He whose existence has neither beginning nor an end. He whose existence is beyond the realm of time. So this is a temporary situation we're in here in this world. This is just a temporary situation. When you guys, especially during Ramadan, you begin to read the Quran more, you'll see how this is emphasized over and over and over again. Right? And the beautiful thing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? He just doesn't say either here, you guys are going to have a trial, and I'm just going to get rid of you, and goodbye. That's not our God. But he's actually going to allow us to live forever. This is an amazing thing. And that realm is going to be something much more. That's going to be amazing. It's going to have no end to it. Nothing but bliss. It's going to be, even for people who made mistakes here, even if we do have to go through a time of constriction, it's going to be something that purifies us and brings us higher. And all those things will be forgiven, and the things that we did in the past that you hold on to now in your life sometimes that wake you up in the middle of the night, they won't even be there anymore. Won't even be in your mind. It'll be something much more. All the struggles that you went through will be amazing. I think I gave an example last week, and this probably will, sit a little bit deeper with the sisters. There's a lady who comes on the day of judgment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And she had lost either some kids or multiple kids, or how it goes. And it was really struggle. She struggled with that in her life. And people do that. Even for men, we struggle with that when, you lose a kid. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds her of that and then shows her the reward for dealing with that with patience. And the response from that person is that her seeing that reward, her seeing whatever that's going to be behind that she says, I wish I would have lost all my kids. Now, that's hard to swallow. That's very hard to swallow, but that's real. That's really going to happen. We may not be able to see it right here, and sometimes certain people can understand that. But if you understand a little bit more, that we'll talk about maybe a little bit after, about what goes on, the transfer of lives and all those things to the next world, and even when children die, that they automatically go to Jannah, waiting for you, those types of things. It's a lot different. So, everlasting, he has no beginning and no end. And the beauty of it, right, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to share that beauty of endless bliss and give it to us. It's just amazing. Also, too, sometimes in life what happens, we feel really constricted and we feel that things are never going to end and that there's no end in sight and that there's no answer to it. And Allah has, no confines. He can do anything. So sometimes we forget about that. We put a limitation on God. We put a limitation on God. And there's no limit with Allah. There's no limit with Allah. Okay. Self-sufficiency. The self-sufficient master whom all creatures need, he neither eats nor drinks. He is the one to whom all creation turns for all their needs. And for he is in and of himself absolutely perfect in his names and attributes and deeds. All right. So, I mentioned last week about a situation where there was an inmate in prison that had gotten stabbed by another person. Bad situation, bleeding, almost killed. And then he's inside of the actual ambulance. And they look into the scar and they start to, go to try to repair it, and they see that there's cancer there. So it seemed like a really crazy situation. Almost out of control. Why did this happen? I'm pretty sure there was tons of people saying that, especially in the setting that they were in. But there was deep reasons behind it. One of the things that I heard one scholar say that makes so much sense to me over the years, he said, there's things happening in this world, and it's like going to a dentist, right? And you have a cavity. So you go to the dentist and you have a cavity. And so what ends up happening is that you have something within your mouth that could be a problem. That infection could go deeper. It could go into your jaw. It could go to your brain. That happens to people. And so there's a moment where he's got to numb it, but there might be some pain because it's deep-rooted. Maybe it's a wisdom tooth. And that pain, it hurts like heck in that moment. You want to scream, maybe want to curse, right? And then it hurts for like a day or so after, but at the end of it, you're actually pretty happy that you got rid of it. You're happy that got out of you, right? Like my father, he had a problem with his leg, and he had to get part of it amputated. And he was actually glad to get rid of that part because it was infected. It was actually infected. And, that could have went into his heart, into his mind, and then all of a sudden, now, he perishes, right? If Allah takes his soul. So, there's some times where certain situations happen in our lives, and it's hard to swallow at the moment, and it hurts in the moment, but there's a deep wisdom behind it. And if you open yourself up to seeing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sufficient, right? And you hold on to that. You hold on to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He'll show you something amazing. The problem is when we detach ourselves. So this is the deeper part of understanding Islamic belief. Because these are life things that we need to do. And you'll find the wisdom within it. But self-sufficiency, that everything comes from it. When you take a look at, yes, go ahead. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Of us, yes. Much, yeah, exactly. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for sharing that. You know, a lot, yeah. Can you repeat that? Yeah, so if what she said was to repeat that, she said that she has to leave for a moment, and she wanted to mention something before she goes because she felt overwhelmed. That when we were talking about, and I'll go back, Al-Baqi, right? That he is the everlasting one, that he just didn't create us just to get rid of us. And that he has a place in Jannah for each one of us, and that the mercy, we're only seeing a part of the mercy here. Only seeing, like, there's a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ says that Allah has 100 parts of mercy, and he sent one of them here to this earth. You know, and it's also just, it's just signifying that this is just a speck of dust in the bigger thing of what we're going to experience. So everybody, you know, hold on. This life is a short time. It's a short time. So it was really beautiful, but how she expressed it. I can't express it with the emotion that she did, but that it just, you know, this is so beautiful how it is. And so when you start understanding the attributes of God, which is something, you know, because we can make this very academic, but when you hold on to it in your spirit, it's something really profound. So self-sufficiency. Now also too, what she just expressed there, right, that was a gift from God. You have to understand that. That mercy that descended into her heart, how she began to cry a little bit, all those are mercies from God. And even how she was able to articulate that, that's the creative part of God. And you could see the beauty, you could say, when she says that, subhanAllah. But that's for each one of us showing the reality of La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. When you conform to that, this is what starts to happen in the world. And you see sometimes that beauty demonstrated, and I talked about last time in masjids, that we can't even build the masjids like they used to before because they had that spiritual refinement. You know? And you could see that. You know, the Muslims were some of the first ones, you know, in the places of Europe and different places that had gardens and all these beautiful things because they brought out that beauty within inside of themselves. So just like those expressions, what she just said, you know, it becomes overwhelming. So connecting yourself. But he is self-sufficient. Even he needs nothing. We need him, right? We need him. We need him. We need him just even to put things together properly. We need him just for water, just for basic things. There's no other God outside of him. Right? So he shows us something really amazing. Oneness, okay. Wahid, right? Al-Wahid, the unique one. He who is single, absolutely without partner or equal in his essence, attributes, actions, names, and decrees. All right. All of this is reflecting the oneness of God in this world. All the different colors of the hijabs today here in there, the different ways the brothers came in here, like I said again, the food, what you're experiencing out in the world, all of this is reflecting the oneness of God. The oneness of the God, his unique ability to create things differently, right? Martin Lings, which wrote a great biography of the Prophet, peace be upon him. There's some things that scholars dispute and things of that nature. There's some things that are unchecked, but overall, it's a very good, it was one of the first biographies that I read. He mentions something very interesting in the book. He said that multiplicity, like all the things that go on in this world, are the imprint of oneness. That multiple things going on and that they can actually be put into or, you know, governed by certain rules and they have a certain form to them and they begin to move a certain way and act a certain way and be a certain way and be a certain color, all show oneness. All show this divine power that can orchestrate the whole thing. Okay? So oneness. You know, there's not dual gods, there's not two gods, there's not three gods. You're not a god, I'm not a god. There's only one God, but everything in here is you know, basically showing us the oneness of God in our lives. And you can see it. You can see, even take a look at your timeline in your life. Go back and take a look at certain events that happened and how they all came to some conclusion, or they come to some conclusion, or they show something. Even if sometimes it feels negative, there was an understanding there. Even if sometimes it was rough, right? like my grandparents. My grandparents went through the Depression. They're all both dead now. But they went through the Depression. And you can see one of the things that they gained out of that situation, amongst many, was the appreciation for food. Like, they would not waste any food. They would not waste any. And they, obviously came up. They developed. They, had good living. But they would not waste food. They would not throw out food at all. They just wouldn't do it. That was something that started to be ingrained in them. Also, too, my grandmother had a brother who went into World War II. And she said that was one of the roughest times in her life. And I could see how that shaped her to make sure that we came there at least 2 to 3 times a month with the whole family. And developed that. And it developed a lot for me. Even all the craziness that I did. Still, family is a very big thing. Going to the house, eating together, talking, sharing experiences, being aware. These were all different things that she experienced that I saw that came out of my grandmother. That they're for deep reasons. My grandfather, the same thing, going through that, working a hard job, right? He's a truck driver, those types of things, going through that. Then also, too, on my father's side of the family. Certain things that he went through that produced certain things within him. And sometimes, certain things came out bad because they were interpreted wrong. They were actually interpreted wrong. And you could see that. And then Islam showed me that. But believing in the oneness of God and starting to see that it showed me there were some things wrong that I need to stay away from. So that's one thing. Okay, incomparability. Now, the beautiful thing about God, right? He whose incomparable willpower first brings into existence all the unique and amazing creation without any similarity to anything else that has ever existed, right? Al-Badi, right? Al-Badi. So, the originator. But also to incomparability, one of the things, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said a beautiful hadith. He said that if a person does this 33 times each after the prayer, or his sins will be forgiven, right? 33 times, and then also to saying, or to sum it up with the extra Allahu Akbar, then some narrations say, La ilaha illallah wahduhu la sharika lah, lahu mulku wa lahul hamdu, yuhyi wa yumit, wa huwa ala kulli shayin qadir, which is the saying of confirming the oneness of God and His power. But you say, one of the things that you say subhanallah. That means, glorified be Allah above everything that we understand. And you get these moments of subhanallah in your life, right? Like that beautiful thing that happened with the sister right there. That's a subhanallah moment. Like, wow, subhanallah. But that shows you something, that even that beauty and all that greatness that came out, Allah is above and beyond that understanding. It's above and beyond that. It's above and beyond, right? So He's incomparable. He gives you this little glimpse, but He's incomparable. So when you say that 33 times, that's one of them, and then you say Alhamdulillah, which actually signifies not only the praise of God, but the oneness of God. And then also too, you say Allahu Akbar, which signifies His greatness within everything. His greatness in this whole world, that He's above and beyond everything. So these are even what they call belief system phrases that we use. They're part of our belief system. So incomparability, right? He's incomparable. Where can you find these attributes? This is very interesting. You can actually find all of these: existence, no beginning, infinite, self-sufficiency, oneness, incomparability, all in the surah that you usually learn first. What's the surah? Does anybody know? What was the surah after you learned Al-Fatiha that you learned first? Ikhlas, right? Sincerity. Pure sincerity, right? These are all in that. These are all in that. Not distinguish all, like all the names, but when you look at how it's actually phrased and how it's said, Qul huwa Allahu ahad. Ahad can mean these two right here. No beginning, and then no beginning and no end. And then endless, infinite. Right? Allahu samad, self-sufficiency. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. It actually means oneness. He begets not, nor is he been begotten. So that means that He is over everything. It signifies oneness. Wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad, incomparability. All right? So it's an interesting thing, right? That most of us learn that first in our prayer. And it's an easy one. The Prophet ﷺ said it's actually considered 1/3 of the Quran. Because 1/3 of it talks about just purely Tawheed, the oneness of Allah. Okay? So alhamdulillah, so are there any questions on that before I go into the affirmative attributes? Just quickly. Yeah? Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that, but. Okay. I'll do that at the end. Can I do that at the end? Huh? So it's part of the, you want me to translate all of them? Okay, so no beginning means just he has no point of start. Okay? Infinite, he has no end. Self-sufficiency, that he's self-sufficient, he's absolute. Okay? Oneness, obviously it means oneness. Everything is, you know what I mean, reflecting his oneness. Incomparability. Not comparable. Okay? Okay. Yep, that's not everything. There's going to be more. So I'm going to go through more. That's what I said. But I just wanted to stop because this is part of the negating attributes. So like I said before, we start, when we say, Ashhadu Allah, right? Ashhadu Allah ilaha illallah. There is no God but Allah, right? So we go into this negating part, okay? All right. Life, number one, for the affirmative ones is life, right? Life, right? Life. The ever-living, the one who has no beginning and no end. He lives and does not die. He gives life to everything else in disposing of all matters and appropriation or apportioning of all things. The one who has perfect life, existing in and of himself, not dependent upon anyone. His life is far removed from resembling the imperfect life of his creatures. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is completely sufficient. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ever living. He shows that in our world. Things are alive. Right? Things are alive. Now the interesting thing is, right? Does anybody know what yogurt has inside of it? What's one of the interesting thing that yogurt has? Probiotics, right? Now the interesting thing that we're dealing with in our time, right, is that we have gone through a process of pasteurization of everything. And what we do is we kill off a certain bacteria. But we're starting to find out, especially a lot more now, that we have good bacteria that we need. So even the things that we think are bad sometimes, it has to mix together. Everything's, but when we eat food that's alive. It's alive with things. You know, there's living things inside of it that we're eating that are doing things for us. And we see the more that we get back to that natural state, that the better it is for us, right? And then when we process things, right, what do? We take a piece here, we kill it off, and then we just put it together, and hopefully it works well. But there's anything, you know, even cultures inside of the cheese, inside of certain things, right? When you eat a fresh tomato, right, you just pick it and you eat it fresh. There's still things that are in there that are alive. You know what I mean? It goes rotten, you know? So, and it's not even bad that it goes rotten. Like sometimes, you know, when we're so used to preservative things, right, that it goes rotten now, and we're like, oh man, that's horrible, this and that. Well, actually, that's a good sign, even though you don't want to eat that one maybe right away, but, or you want to put it into the compost. But it means that in your body, that's what it's doing. It's actually breaking down, you know, because there's certain things now that are sitting in our body forever. So, but ever living, we see this, right? And you see when things are active and moving in your life, right? When you go out to a park and you see all the alive nature, you know, it sits really great with you. It feels amazing, right? You know, we like to see these things. We like to experience that name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our lives. We love it. We do. If you go sit in that closet over there and everybody just goes in the total dark, you're not going to be, you know, unless you're really centered, you know, it's not going to be that great of an experience. So, life. He has knowledge. He is all knowledgeable, right? Number one, the one whose knowledge is neither acquired through learning nor preceded by ignorance. There's no ignorance in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does. There's no point of not understanding. Like, he just, I just created this cat and maybe it's going to do this. That's, you know, you start putting human things on this. Or he created this certain scenario in your life and let's see how she reacts. He knows all these things, you know what I mean? Oh, let's see what happens, you know. That's us. That's when you have a misunderstanding. We don't have full access, when you don't have full knowledge. Allah created knowledge in and of itself. He created even the part where I just talked about, where I just maybe it's that. He created all those different words and things that I said. So he has all knowledge of everything, right? The one who has reached perfection in his knowledge, who knows and has always known. The one who is knowing of our deeds and nothing escapes him. His knowledge encompasses all of creation. Right? So even take a look at our economic systems and everything, right? There's a certain way and principles that we work with in our world that we're supposed to. Allah has told us in the Quran. Certain principles, very broad, but there's certain things that we should do and we shouldn't do. Interest is one, that's we shouldn't do. And we've seen the ramifications of that all over the world. We've seen the ramifications of that, right? Other principle, right? In our deen, do we promote racism? No, right? Everybody's the same. The only thing that distinguishes us is what? Does anybody know? What's the only thing that distinguishes us as people? Say it again? Okay, yeah, so consciousness of God. That's the only thing that distinguishes us, right? That's the only thing that matters in true reality. The form of us and the color of us does not matter, right? But we've seen what that has done when that becomes a real thing that people actually begin to believe in and practice. We see all these things. So he has knowledge over everything. And how does this help us out in our lives? Look, Allah knows everything that you're going through. Allah knows everything that you're going through. And there's a reason why you're going through it. He knows about maybe the abuse that happened in your life early on. He knows about these things. Okay? There's certain situations that are really contentious in our lives, and it sucks. But there's a learning process in it. One of the things that these experiences do is they begin to actually break our hearts from attachments that are bad. And a lot of different things that start to happen, guys. So Allah knows everything that's going on with you, though. And He's given us certain things of how to help out in these situations. How to begin to mend those wounds. How to begin to actually connect back with Him. How to become the best human being. How to take those scenarios and actually make them catalysts for us to rise. He's given us that. It's seen through the course of history. The Prophet, peace be upon him, came with the message, right? And he came to people called the Aus and the Khazraj, or two different warring factions. They had been killing each other for almost 100 years. And he made them brothers and sisters, to the point where one of them had an opportunity to do this. In the beginning, the Prophet took two of the sisters, right? He would say, okay, you are sisters or you are brothers. And you have to support one another. Or you have to support them, because they were basically refugees coming from Mecca. And he would say that you have to support them because they're refugees. And so they would give them half their wealth. They were very excited to do it. And there came a time where some money came in, and that actual process could stop. The Prophet actually gave the people who were supporting them an option. He said, listen, you can either take half of what we actually have gotten, and you can continue to give them half of your wealth, or you can give it all to them, and you can stop paying that half of wealth. And they said, okay, Prophet, peace be upon you, we're going to think about it. And so they came back with this answer, and this is the type of love that's begun to be engendered in their heart and become a part of them. They said, what we want to do is we want to give all the wealth to the refugees, to them, to the immigrants. We want to give all the wealth to them, and we still want to give half our wealth to them. But this is what started to happen to them, right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they went through a whole bunch of struggle in Mecca. They went through persecution. They went through all these things. But Allah had knowledge of all these things and was building them. Building them. And even the people who died in that situation, Allah gave them a knowledge to understand that, look, they're not dead. Don't worry, it's okay. They're in another life. They're okay. You got to finish your mission here. Don't worry about them. They're okay. They're with me, right? So take a look. Power. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, possessor of all strength. Right? You could see that even what I liked about this picture was, if you ever go to the mountains and you go to these different places, I just went to Mount Shasta a couple weeks ago. It was amazing to see the beauty and the natural settings, and it just made me just purified. I swear, it was better than taking a shower just seeing that. It was just amazing. It just was really amazing, just overwhelming. But He has power, and you could see that within your life. You can see that within your life, that He's given you a certain amount of power. He's given you a little bit. You can do things. Some of you know. Some of us, you can do push-ups, sit-ups, you can jump jacks. You can do all those things, right? You can, some people are really strong, some people aren't. But you have this power to do things. You have also to have intellectual power. You have emotional power. You have spiritual power. You have these different things that Allah has given you. Some of you can make dua and Allah will answer you really quickly. Some of you make a dua and then all of a sudden, wow, there's people who have that. Allah has given that to certain people. I'm pretty sure I know some of you may be from other countries. There may be certain people that are very righteous, and you go ask them to make dua for you. Because you have a hope that it's going to be accepted, right? So they used to do that with the Prophet, peace be upon him. They would say, make dua. Sometimes there would be rain and say, Ya Rasulullah, can you ask Allah to bring us rain? And it would happen, because they knew it would be accepted. But power. Allah has power over everything. Allah can, you know, this whole situation, especially what you see going on in the world, especially the Muslim world, sometimes it gets overwhelming. Allah can take it away in all just a moment. It can be all switched around just like that. So understand the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there's a reason why things are going on. Will. You also too have an independent will. El-Qadir. They translate it as all-powerful here. That also means determining. There's different shades of the word. And so also too, when we say we believe in Qadr, it's good and it's evil. So destiny. But that's His will, that there's certain things we believe in both of us, when it goes for us and where it seems it goes against us. And it's all really going for us. If you believe. If you believe. That's the key point. If you believe. If you believe. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said that. Said, amazing is the affair of the believer. Amazing is the affair of the believer because everything is good for them. It's a very interesting statement. But will. And Allah has the overall will. So we say that, you hear it in the khutbah all the time, right? You hear it in the khutbah all the time. You know, whoever Allah decides to guide, no one can lead them astray. And whoever Allah decides to go down the wrong path, no one can bring them back. Because it's His overall will. Meaning that He has the power. Now, it's like Imam Ali said, right? Radiallahu anh. Ali was a great companion of the Prophet, part of his household. A man came and said, can you explain to me about destiny? And he said, yeah, okay. He said, oh, lift up your leg. So you lift up the leg. He said, lift up your other leg. He said, I can't do it. He said, that's the destiny. And so he gave him a quick lesson that there's some things you have capability of, there's some things you don't. It's a very general, it's actually really comprehensive lesson because that's how our life is. There's certain things you have control over, there's certain things you don't. And if you submit to the natural way that Allah has put things in the things that you don't have control over, you're going to get a great experience. But if you don't, if you go against it, problem. Right? There's like certain things. Our tongue has been created to do what? Speak good, to do all these beautiful things. You start backbiting, telling lies, you're going against something inside of you. And it's going to have repercussions. If you ever met a pathological liar, which unfortunately I have many times, you know what I mean? You'll see they actually start to begin to believe their lies. But they've done something. They've changed something. And you could see it. If you met that person early on in their childhood, which, again, I have, and then you see them older and they keep continuing to do it. In the beginning process, they weren't really like that sometimes. They didn't, and then something changed because they kept continuously doing that. You know, so you continually do things that are sins, it has an effect on you. It blinds certain things. And I'll give you guys a little bit of a cheat on the CIU course in a minute. But sight, I don't know if I'll be doing a class for a while again, but all right, so sight, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has seen. He is the all-seeing, right? He has clear insight into apparent and hidden things. And He sees and understands all that has been and all that will be. He has insight into all things, perceives every detail, and understands all things, both outer and inner. Now the beautiful thing is, right, is if you begin to do things properly with your eyes and do things properly with your internal vision, Allah will give you beautiful spiritual vision. Things will come to you easily. Like, you know what I mean? Things will be clear for you. You'll have clear mind. A lot of beautiful things start to happen from this, guys. By practicing Islam, you'll see that. Has anybody noticed that in their life, their change? Your change. I mean, you just can see. You can see the change that starts to happen. Even how you perceive things. Things that used to be, you know, like going to a club used to be a normal Friday night thing for me. That was a normal thing. And that was I got ready for it. I used to get dressed. I put my chain on, this and that. I tried to make sure I smell good, right? You know what I mean? It was a normal thing. I tried to make sure my car was clean, you know what I mean? And then we're going to go in here and act like a bunch of fools. That was a normal thing. No, really, I mean, to be honest. That was a normal. But now, that is just like the farthest, that's like the farthest thing from me now. Like, that's like, if I was to go in that type of setting, I feel dirty. Like, oh my God, I'm in here. What is going on, you know? And one of my friends actually mentioned that. I'm a mentor for him. He's took the Link Outside program in the prison. He just did 20 years. And he mentioned that the other day. He went around some of his friends because I called him. And he was doing some homework from the college. And he mentioned that just to me, actually, not the other day, today in the morning. He said, you know, Jess, man, I went around them. I'm not one of them anymore. I'm not one of them. That's not me anymore. I don't relate to it. I don't see it. I see the harm in it. And he had actually, probably Brother Jamal might know because he had Twister was there. They had all those guys, all the rappers and everything. He told me, and he just said, I had to leave. From an external point, he's around some rich people. There's some people, real, I guess you say macho guys. I'm going to use a nice word. But then he said, this is not me. It changed his vision of things. It changed how we see things. So this is what we believe in. Allah has sight over everything, right? And his sight isn't like the human being. It has no limitations on it. He hears sounds. He hears time, what would be, what wouldn't be. He sees all these things. It's much. And hearing. Allah hears everything. Everything. He hears the things that you don't even say. He hears everything. And it's much more responsive, though. What it also indicates is responsive. It's that there is a connection. There's a deep connection. One of the things that we say when we stand up, what do we say? This is a quiz for all the new Muslims. What do we say when we stand up in prayer? Sami Allahu liman hamida. What does that mean? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay. Say it again. Okay, yeah. So whoever has praised, Allah has heard whoever has praised him. Right? So like she said. So Allah hears. We say that in our prayer. Sami Allahu liman hamida. We say that. Rabbana lakal hamd. Right? We say that. We say that. We know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with us. But there's, we're on this journey. And then speech. Speech. Allah has speech. It is the Quran. So also too, in your life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will communicate with you. How do I mean that? There's certain things He'll give you, you'll see things clearly in your life, right? I talked about it last time. There's a prayer that we do in Islam that will help you if you have a decision to make. It's called the istikhara prayer. It's the prayer of guidance. 5 minutes, okay. So, I shouldn't have said that. No, nothing. I was repeating, he said 5 minutes, okay. So, it's the istikhara prayer. It's a prayer of guidance. And there's many other things that Allah, sometimes you'll see things clearly in your life. Clearly in your life that just happened, and you won't even have to make the prayer. But if you have a problem and you don't know how to decide something, or you have decided something, you want to kind of like check it. Like, is this good for me, right? Maybe you're getting some signals that it's wrong, but you're not really listening, or the job is $100,000 and I could really use the money. And there's this other one that's $40,000. And I like the $40,000, but I need the $100,000, but I don't like the $100,000 job. You go through this debacle, right? You know what I mean? And you want some answers. Like, hey, hello. So you do the prayer. It's 2 rakats and then you do the dua. And it manifests differently. Some people get clear dreams. Like my wife, to give an example. We were trying to find out if we wanted to move into the area that we're in now. And from a financial standpoint, it didn't make any sense. Any sense at all. I wanted to move there. I was like, I want to be around this person and we could do this and it can help out a lot. No. And she was right. On the financial standpoint, it doesn't make sense. We shouldn't do that. Maybe we could do this. She made the istikhara prayer. She said, you know what, I'm going to make istikhara prayer about it. This and that. All of a sudden, in the middle of the night, she just got up and went, ah! And she got up, and after we made fajr, she was so contentious, she said, we can't be in this house anymore. I tell you honest truth. She'll tell you, if you ever meet her, she'll tell you herself. We can't be in this house. She signed the 30-day notice before I even knew about it. She signed it that day that we were getting out of here. And she saw it in a clear dream that we were at this place, and all these Asians were coming out. And so we moved to Koreatown, where we wanted to go. That's really what happened. I'm telling you the honest truth. So, this is an istikhara prayer. It happens many times for people. This is something the Prophet ﷺ told us to do. So, the speech, sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives you an answer. Right, clearly. And He's always giving you answers. So, the speech of Allah. So, these are the 13 main ones. I'm going to leave it up here on the board because we're about to finish up. But I just want everybody to see them. These are things that, and we can go so much deeper into these, okay? But you have to believe these as a Muslim. Without you believing in this, there's no Islam actually. You have to. This is part of our belief. This is submission. This is how you begin to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Are there any questions? Is there time for questions? Okay. Are there any questions I want to say? And then I'm going to give you a 4-point little quick 1-minute little cheat sheet. Anyways, go ahead. Are there any questions? Did I make any sense? Did I make sense here today? Okay. I'm just making sure I made sense. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's still there. We probably should talk about it because I'm just going to take a long time to, not a long time, but a little bit longer than what we have. So I'll give you a sidebar for as long as you want after, okay? Okay, any other questions? Just general ones? Okay. I'm going to share with you a few things that are going to help you, big time, but you got to write them down, okay? What blinds us from truth? 4 of them are mentioned in the CIU course, so this is your cheat sheet, okay? You're going to understand this before the course, and it will help you with the quiz. Not going to give you the answers, but I'm just going to give you the principles of what's going to be mentioned in the textbook, and Sheikh Mustafa will be fine with this. Number 1, what will stop us or what will hinder you from understanding something will be, number 1 is arrogance. And what is arrogance? Arrogance is rejecting the truth. Beginning to reject the truth. How has that actually happened? What do we see that in the Quran? You can see that with the instance of shaitan. Allah is telling him to bow to Adam alayhi salam and telling the angels to do things. The angels do it and he doesn't do it. And he makes an argument with the one who has actually created even the argument. Okay, so that's number 1, arrogance. Also 2, blind imitation. Some things that we do are not based upon principle, they're actually cultural. Or maybe something that, like my father would say all the time when I would sweep the ground and I would sweep over his foot, he would spit on the actual broom and said, I need to do that because if not, I'll get bad luck. So those are like things, right? So blind imitation. It's always said in the Quran continuously, like Ibrahim, do you follow what your forefathers do without any, even if it's falsehood? Even if it doesn't even make sense? Even if it doesn't do anything? Yep. Blind imitation. Yep. Okay, another one. Also 2, selfish desires. Selfish desires. What will blind you from understanding truth is your desires. Right? I know one time I had a picture taken of me, and I was like, because I used to work out and do a lot of things a lot more. And then I saw, and somebody was like, you're gaining a little bit of weight. No, I'm all right. I'm good. I didn't want to believe that, right? I was like, oh, no, I'm okay. Then somebody took a picture of him and was like, man, I got a stomach, man. What is that? Oh, my God, let me get rid of that. Because I'm still eating like I'm working out all the time, and I'm working out even as quarter as much. So it's like, oh, man, I need to know this stuff. But that's just a little light example, right? Sometimes no, I'm okay. No, appetites can get you. And then so another one, the selfish desires. So you have 3, arrogance, blind imitation, selfish desires, and then the last one, laziness. Laziness. That's another one. And there's other ones outside of that. Sheikh Mustafa explains a little bit differently, but laziness. One of the greatest things you guys can do, especially when you first accept Islam, is begin to really get up for Fajr. Make it your effort to do that. Make it your effort. Go to bed on time. Do these things. It will do amazing things for you. I promise you. And then when you do it and you're first just doing the hour, then you actually turn inward and begin to try to be present with Allah. Inshallah ta'ala will be amazing. Okay? So there's a little cheat sheet there. Don't tell Sheikh Mustafa. But alhamdulillah. So that's it. Are there any questions on any of that? We are concluding. I know the brother Jamal has some things to say. I appreciate everything from you, dear brothers and sisters. Alhamdulillah. It's always a blessing to be able to share any type of knowledge with people journeying on the path of Islam. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make you successful in all that you do. Subhanaka Allahumma rabbana wa bihamdik nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin ashraf al-anbiya'i wa mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam taslima kathira. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Thank you so much, Brother Jesse. Alhamdulillah. I hope it was beneficial. We had Brother Jesse for 2 weeks, last week and this week, and we won't be a stranger to us. He'll be coming more often, inshallah, God willing. So we're going to get you for some more sessions. Okay, announcements. Sorry, I have to bore you guys again. What do we have this coming Friday? Yes, spicy biryani night, right? You have to add the spice in there. So, huh? So see, when it comes to biryani, there's like different types of biryani, right? I don't know which type we're going to have, but it'll have meat inside of it, inshallah. Yeah, it has to have spice. I think, to be honest, because there's some people in the community, they don't like spicy food. There's others that if you don't have spice in it, they just won't eat it. So I think we're going to have a mild version of biryani. And and like a super, super like hot version of biryani. So we hope to label those so you don't mix and match, inshallah. But that's this coming Friday. But the point of that, brothers and sisters, is that we're starting like an educational series of how Islam enters certain parts of the world. And so along with that, it's really fun to have some delicious food as well. So the topic for this coming Friday is how Islam entered the subcontinent, like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, how Islam entered there, right? The main topic is going to start at 8 p.m. right inside here, the multi-purpose room. And that'll go till about maybe 9:30 with Sheikh Musta Umar, along with Professor Sohaib, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to be really good. But the kitchen opens up at 6 o'clock, right? Just like Halal Taco Night we had a few months ago. Kitchen opens up 6 o'clock, so you can come in, queue up, get your tickets, purchase your food. And we want to do from 6 to 8 p.m. socializing, right? Get to know one another, have some delicious food and so forth, enjoy. And then 8 p.m. we want everybody to come back inside here. So make sure to get the word out, invite your friends, your family members. This is a good time for them to come to the mosque as well, if they haven't as of yet come to the mosque, inshallah, okay? Any questions regarding that? Yeah, Sister Rachel? Good question. Yeah, so we won't have coffee with the Sheikh that Friday. Instead, we'll just have the event itself, inshallah. So those of you that are live streaming right now, there won't be an event on Friday. But regarding coffee with the Sheikh, instead, we're just going to have our main event, inshallah. So join us with that. Questions? Yes, sister. 6 p.m. Will be the kitchen opens up with the food, and 8 p.m. will be the talk, inshallah. And we have the flyers. Have these flyers outside in the shelf if anybody wants it. If anybody goes to a different mosque and they're okay at the mosque of putting some flyers down, if somebody can help me, that'll be great. Most of the local ones we've already reached out to, but if there's some around the LA area, or if you guys are in the Inland Empire, if anybody can help me, that'll be great, inshallah. Okay, perfect. Inshallah, I really appreciate it. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. You got me? Inshallah. May Allah bless you. Okay, so that's that. So no questions regarding biryani night? Okay, and we're open to ideas and suggestions. So if you guys have other ideas of how, different types of food and different topics, let us know, inshallah. I text everyone, or the majority of you. If you didn't get a text, it's regarding next Sunday's class. So next Sunday, instead of the class, we're going to have our Ramadan gift boxes. I think I text everyone, whoever has WhatsApp. So what are the Ramadan gift boxes? Some people had questions regarding that. So actually 2 years ago, what we started to do was every year here at IIOC, outreach is very important to us, right? To educate non-Muslims about Islam, our friends, our family members, and so forth. So we made these really nice gift boxes, like vinyl, see-through vinyl boxes. We put some dates, some almonds, some nuts, a pamphlet about what is Ramadan and what is Islam. And we put it inside to make it really nice. And then the community, they actually purchase some, and then they'll give it to their neighbors, right? So, and it's really nice. It's a really great way, because we understand it might be a bit difficult to talk to people about Islam, even though we should be doing it to the best of our ability. But to give a gift to your neighbor or your coworker, that'll be even amazing, right? You don't even have to say anything. The gift itself is just amazing outreach, right? Da'wah. So, but we made 1,000 of those 2 years ago, and I think within, 2 days, they were sold out. They were literally 1,000 of them. So, the whole point of that is, we can hire people, we can do different things, but we wanted to make it more of a social activity and a family building exercise. A family meaning our family here at IIOC. So if you're in a position to help out as far as your time, I would really appreciate it. We're going to meet Saturday, because IIOC here, the whole day is booked over here. They have different events going on. We're going to meet at the extension. So if you want to mark your calendars, this coming Saturday, 10:30 a.m., we're going to start at the CIU, the extension down the road. Huh? Yeah, 10:30 in the morning, yeah. 10:30 in the morning, and then we're going to, hopefully, inshallah, God willing, all the supplies will be there by then. We're just waiting on a few more supplies. They should be here within the next few days, but we'll meet at 10:30. Just by a show of hands, how many of you are able to make it that day? You don't have to, we're going to about 5. You don't have to stay the whole time. If you can, that's great. Just by a show of hands? Yeah, so Saturday, 10:30 at the extension. Sunday, so instead of our class Sunday next week, instead of the class, we're going to have this team building exercise where we're going to literally line up some tables. We'll have food, coffee, tea, just have a good time, and we'll make those boxes as well. So Sunday, 10:30 as well, but it'll be here. Saturday, it'll be down the road at the university. You guys remember the university, right? The Cal Islamic University. If anybody needs the address, just let me know. You can just Google it. Cal Islamic University is just less than a mile down the road in the city of Fullerton, inshallah. Questions? No? And obviously, for all volunteers, each one gets one complimentary, obviously. That's the least we can do, right? So everyone gets a complimentary gift itself. And we'll have, again, food and all that good stuff, inshallah. And, okay, regarding Ramadan. So Ramadan, the month of fasting, is like about a little over 3.5 weeks away. So I want to make sure everyone is good to go for that. We're going to have a Ramadan 101 workshop. We're going to have that with Sheikh Mustafa Umar. I have the date here somewhere in my notes. And that is going to be May 13th. I think I announced it last week. May 13th is going to be our Ramadan 101 workshop. It'll be at the extension as well. And that's a Sunday. So Sunday, May 13th. So our class that day, May 13th, in a few weeks, is going to be down the road at the extension. That will be the Ramadan workshop. I will try to get it live streamed, but I'm not sure because they do have live streaming there. But to get someone there to do the live stream, I'm not sure. So if you can make it in person, that will be perfect. At 1:30 p.m., we'll try to go till 3:30 p.m. It's open to the whole community, so we anticipate more people coming as well. I would suggest, just a suggestion, if you have any questions, right, any specific questions, say you have a medical condition, or say you're working and you have some type of a, maybe a detailed or specific based question, I would write it down and just kind of like either let us know beforehand, or you can wait the day of. I will try not to wait the day of just because there might be so many questions, you might not get your question answered. I hope you do, but sometimes what happens is because Ramadan happens once a year, so people kind of forget. So they have to refresh their memory, so everyone asks questions. So if you have questions, just send me an email, and I'll go ahead and get it checked out by the scholars here, inshallah. And they'll be more than happy to work with us on that. So just keep that in mind, May 13th at the extension, 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. Okay? Expected, Ramadan is expected to start May 16th. But again, they're going to make an announcement here, right? Based on the sighting of the moon. Most likely, Wednesday, May 16th is the first fast. That means Tuesday, May 15th is the first night prayer here, the Taraweeh, the first night, right? Because the night and the day, right? So the first fast is going to be on the Wednesday, May 16th, and Tuesday will be the first night prayer. Don't burn yourself out. The night prayer is optional. See, it makes no sense if you're praying all night and you can't wake up for the number one prayer, the Fajr prayer. This is what people do sometimes. They burn themselves out. This is their first Ramadan or their second Ramadan. They get really excited. So they're here at night after, like, you know, I don't know, 10 o'clock all the way to like midnight praying. Then they can't wake up for the number one prayer, the Fajr prayer. Which one is mandatory? The night prayer or Fajr? Fajr, right? So if you can come and just observe, you can just grab a seat, just sit down, just observe. If you want to pray, they go by 2 units. They pray a total of about 8 units here, if I'm not mistaken. They go by 2 units. 2 units, they take a break. 2 units, they take a break, etc. You can pray 2 units, take a break. Come back and pray 2 more units. But just to make sure you understand, it's optional. It's not mandatory. Your mandatory is the 5 daily prayers. Don't miss those. All right? So sometimes we just have to make sure we remind ourselves on that. And then also we have our QA. You know, we have usually a Friday night Coffee with the Sheikh QA, but every now and then for our Sunday class, we also like to do a QA. That's going to be on, I didn't write the date down. I will get that to you guys. It will be in about 2 weeks as well. 2 weeks, inshallah. But I'll let you know, and that'll be our potluck as well. I'll email everyone regarding that. Questions? Yes, sister. Yeah, inshallah. I'll give you my contact as well. You can always email me as well, inshallah. Okay? And on that note, we have someone new to, we actually have 2 sisters new to class. Sister, I didn't get your name again, sorry. Sulaib? Tuleb. Tuleb. Sister Tuleb is here, and you're bringing Sister Nadi, right? Nadi from Brazil. And sister, when did you embrace Islam? Recently? When did you embrace Islam? You became a Muslim in Brazil? How long ago? 5 years ago. You just moved here, or? All right, congratulations, welcome. So sisters, make sure you introduce yourselves to our sister. We have a small gift for you. If you give us a few minutes, we'll be more than happy to bring you a gift. Having said that, if there's no questions, and Edwin, it's good to see you. You're back. Usually, it's really nice. Actually, we have 4 brothers here today. Usually, I'm just talking to myself like this, right? So it's always, you know, and we have a low attendance today just because, you know, there was the other weekend seminar this week, the Al-Maghrib one, the one we mentioned last week. So I know a number of students are over there taking that, and they were emailing me as well. So, you know, but we'll continue next week as well. So may Allah bless you all. If you guys can help me out with the tables and chairs, let's just go ahead and bring it here. We can put them away. And again, food is there. May help yourself to make a plate and take it home. We'll see you guys next week. Assalamu alaikum.